Hi students, we are going to be practicing some adding and subtracting on a number line. Now we've seen these a couple of times this year, but we haven't spent a lot of time working on them, and that's totally okay. We're going to spend a little bit of time right now, and we're going to start kind of at the basics. It might feel like, do you guys like, oh, well, I know how to add within 10, like super easily. That's great. I'm really glad that you do. We're still going to practice this just because it's a good place to start. So even if you can do this addition without needing the number line, we're going to practice it, and you guys are going to be doing some work on the number line that's probably more simple, and that's going to be okay. It's going to be a good exercise, good practice. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 written on my number line. That's letting me know that between 1 and 2, there is 1, or 1, 1, you know? If we were to think about like our hundreds, tens, and ones, just one of these to get between those. From here to here is a 10. Okay. Well, let's just do some simple stuff then. So I'm gonna write an addition problem up here, and I know that it's an addition problem that you guys probably just know or could do really quickly in your heads. But we're gonna do it on the number line just because it's a good practice, and then we're gonna, practice it a couple times and then maybe like up the level a little bit. Okay? Let's do 5 plus 3. Now I know, you guys, you can solve this. Either you know it, or you could do an adding up, or you could do, or counting on, or whatever you want to do, but we're going to put it on the number line, just as a good practice, so make sure you're still focusing in. So I'm going to start with this first number. We know with addition it doesn't matter which one you start with, but for now I'm going to start with this first one. So I'm going to come over to the 5, and I'm going to plot a dot. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a dot on the 5, and then I need to add 3 jumps because there is 1, 2, 3 in there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and then I always think it's important to label these because eventually we're going to start getting jumps where they're not just jumps of 1. So starting right now with labeling our jumps is just going to be helpful because later on it's going to be required anyways. Might as well start now. So I started at 5 and I added 1, 2, 3 jumps, and then I landed on 8. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8. So my answer for this one is 8. Cool. Perfect. Let's do another one. Okay, so I'm going to clear this out. Whoop, whoop. Start afresh right there. And I'll clear this part out up here. Okay, let's do another equation. Let's do, oops, I'm gonna make that look a little nicer. There we go. Let's do 2 plus 6. Okay, 2 plus 6, awesome. Let's go ahead and start with that first one. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna plot the 2. And then I need to add 6 jumps because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones in there. So I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to label those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hey, I got to 8 again for that answer. Okay, so that worked. That worked really well. But we know for addition that it doesn't matter which number you start with. So I'm going to try starting with 6 and adding 2 to it. I'm going to start at 6 and I'm going to add 1, 2. Now 2 plus 6, we added 6 jumps, got to 8. And then 6 plus 2, we added 2 jumps and we still got to 8. Second one was a little bit easier though, so that's something that we can just kind of like remember, like, okay, if I have some different equations, it might be easier to start with the bigger number and so that I have less jumps that I need to take. Something to throw back into your brain. Okay. I'm gonna change it up a little bit because I feel like you guys are probably going right along with that. No prob, no big, all good. You guys are pros. Okay, So now I've kind of started my board back to the beginning. So I have 1 through 10. I'm going to do something. Follow along with your eyes. What did I just do? Well, I added a 0 to each of these numbers. So I made the 1 a 10, and now I made it count by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So what that's telling me is that between each jump is plus 10, which is why you know it's important to be labeling, because I'm adding 10s now for this version. Okay, well let's do a little bit of practice with this, with adding 10s. Let's do 40 plus 40. Actually, no, I keep ending up on the same answer. How about 40 plus 50? Okay. So again, it doesn't matter which one I start with. It might be nicer to start at the bigger ones, then I have less jumps to do. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start at the 50. And then I need to add 4 10s, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 10s in that number. Just making them a little shorter. So I'm going to add 4 jumps of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to label that. Oops, that kind of looks like plus 16. There we go. Plus 10, plus 10. Awesome. And then I got to 90, which if we had 4 plus 5, 4 plus 5 equals 9, or 5 plus 4 equals 9. So 40 plus 50 equals 90, or 50 plus 40 equals 90 if we're thinking about our fact families. 50 plus 40 equals 90, 40 plus 50 equals 90, 90 minus 50 equals 40, and 90 minus 40 equals 50. Okay, let's do another one where we're adding 10s. Okay, and I'm going to clear that one out. My board's getting a little messy, but you guys can still see. Okay. Alrighty, let's do 30 plus 30. I'm going to do a double. Now, counting by 10s, really great practice for us. If you can count by 1s really well, you can count by 10s. Let me find my pen that I just dropped. There we go. If you know what 3 plus 3 is, you know what 30 plus 30 is. But let's go ahead and put it on the number line, because that's what we're working with today, and that is what your independent practice is going to be today, is doing things on the number line and doing some practice with that. So I'm going to start at 30, and I need to add 3 10s, because there is 1, 2, 3 10s in this number. So I need to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to label that because I'm adding 10, and I want to make sure that I know that. And I got to 60. Okay. If you guys have been doing the expanded form and feeling pretty good about that, the expanded form addition, this is kind of a similar idea. So, you know, you're kind of like splitting this out into its 10s. So, because 30 is 3 10s. And then you're just putting those 3 10s out right there. So it's pretty similar to stuff that we've already been working on, which is kind of why each week we're kind of building on these ideas that we're working on. Let's do a little bit of practice with this skill. I'm actually going to have you guys do some practice in your number corner book. So I have my name on there. I have my number corner book. This is blue. We usually use them in our morning meetings. We haven't used them for a little while, but we are going to be using them for your independent math work today. So, or not independent, but like math lesson. You know what I mean. So please go ahead and grab that out. If you need to pause this video and go find that, please do that, because I want us to be looking at it together. So, when you have your book, go ahead and turn to page 21. So you're going to turn to page 21. 21. And it should look like this. And there's a couple other pages that look similar, so please double check that you're on page 21. This says the 4th century day at the top. Don't worry about that. And this says help kangaroo hop from 300 to 390. And if you're saying, that seems really hard, we're going to do it together. Don't worry. So we have some blanks. And what's nice is that it's showing us some of the numbers already in there. If we look, it's actually only counting by tens. So we just need to make sure that we put those 300s at the beginning of each number. So if this first one is 310, then the first one would be 300. 300, 310, 320. Well, we know what comes next because we have this board back here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add the numbers onto here. So we already have 300 written down. 310, 320, 330, 340, 350, 360, 370, 380, 390, and that's as far as this one goes. But if we were at 390, what would come next? 400. Awesome. So if we were to keep going, the next number would be 400. Okay. So once you have all of these filled in, which go ahead and you can go to this part and pause if you want to look at that. It says trace each of the numbers below. So your first step is to go ahead and trace these. It's just good practice. It's helping us remember which way that numbers go and make us help us to make sure that we're writing our numbers correctly. So go ahead and trace all of those. And then it says, then draw a line from each word to the matching expression, which is a fancy way of saying there's some equations over here. Which do they match to? Now let's look at the first one together. This one says 300 plus 90. Well, what's nice is that I have this number line up here, and I can use that to help me. So I can start at 300, and I need to add 90 or 9 tens. So I can add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 300 plus 90, 390. That also kind of makes me think of expanded form a little bit. So then I would probably write the answer over there just so that I don't forget. I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to draw a line connecting it to 390, which I kind of had to turn my line a little bit, but I made it down there. Okay? There are a couple on here that are subtraction, and that might feel kind of hard. If you want to skip the subtraction, figure out all the addition first, and then use your best skills to figure out those subtraction ones. If you want to use your number line to help you, think about starting at this side and then counting backwards to subtract, because we're taking away. Number lines, they always get bigger going this way and smaller going that way. So for 390 minus 10, 390, and then I need to take away 110. So whatever number went in that box would be the answer to that one. Once you have finished all of those, there's just a couple more that I'd like you to do on the back side, so page 22. It says, what number comes after 300 when you count by tens? So if we start at 300, what number comes next? Okay. And then it says, here are some equations about 400. Some are true and some are not. Circle T for true if the equation is correct. Circle F for false if the equation is not correct. So go through and do your very best work. If you want, some of these might feel a little bit hard. Do the ones you can, and if there's some that you're just like, I don't know if that is true or false, you can skip it. It's okay. Some of these we haven't really been able to practice quite yet, so do as many as you can, and you can skip some, I understand. Okay? This one says, write 4 different equations that have 400 as the answer. It says you can use addition or subtraction. I would just like you to use addition right now. So each of the answers for those should be 400. And I'm going to say you guys can do anything except for using zeros. So you can't say 0 plus 400 equals 400. I'd like you to do a little bit more than that. So each of those should be addition problems. So I'm going to add a little plus symbol in there. And they all need to equal 400. So you guys can do that however you would like. Please don't do plus 0. That's silly. 4 different equations. That means that you need to come up with 4 equations that are different. Please do plus or addition equations. And then once you finish that, you're all the way done for today. We are going to keep practicing number line this week, and I'm so stoked about how well you guys are already doing. If this is feeling a little confusing, that's okay. Take your time. We're working and we're learning together. I'm so proud of you.